Good evening, everyone. Hey. My name is Matt Williams, and I'm one of the principal organizers of the Leadership Project. And tonight, we are in for a treat. As President Nathan Hatch engages NBA All-Star Chris Paul in a conversation about his leadership and life. 3 years ago, we launched the Leadership Project with the intention to provide members of the Wake Forest community with inspiring stories from leaders who spanned a variety of age groups, professions, and embraced diverse experiences and worldviews. And since then, we welcomed Donna Edwards, the first African-American Congresswoman from Maryland. We've heard from interfaith leader Eboo Patel, and heard from tech entrepreneur and education advocate Charles Best, and also Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy, among countless others who've been willing to share their successes and failures in leadership for our collective learning. We also wanted to give visibility to the many ways that leadership is taught and cultivated here at Wake Forest University, including everything from classroom experiences that talk about leadership and society to extracurricular activities like Charge, and Build, and Branches, and all the other offerings that come from our many institutes, our diversity and inclusion centers, and the Office of Student Engagement. So it really is a joy to see so many people sitting out in the audience tonight, excited to hear about leadership, and also we have some folks tuning in via live stream, so hey, if you're watching online. Events like these really are a treasure for us at Wake Forest, and they really don't happen out of thin air. There's an incredible team of people that produce an experience like this. So before we begin, I want to give thanks and a special shout out to the staff in our university events team, folks in communications and external relations, campus police, and also staff in the president's office. I also would like to inform you about the question and answer portion of our program, because we're going to do it a little bit different. We're not going to have mics in the aisles. Instead, we ask that you tweet in your questions using hashtag WFULeads. So that's $ for the Twitter challenged, WFULEADS. And what I'll do is I'll serve as a moderator during the Q&A, and then I'll pose your questions to President Hatch and Chris and wait for his response. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Wake Forest University President, Dr. Nathan Hatch, who will introduce our esteemed guest for the evening. All right.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome back to Wake Forest Chris Paul, a Deacon Demon standout, one of the most astounding players in the NBA today, an admired leader among teammates and competitors. Chris was elected in 2013 as head of the NBA Players Association, and he was just re-elected to that position this summer. After leaving Wake Forest at the end of his sophomore year, Chris was chosen by the New Orleans Hornets as the fourth pick in the 2005 NBA draft. That led to NBA Rookie of the Year honors and the first of his 9 All-Star selections. Chris also played on the Olympic teams 2008 and 2012. In addition to his on-court contributions and many business pursuits, including his dual roles as Cliff and Chris Paul in the well-known State Farm commercials, Chris and his family strive to have a positive impact in their community. The Chris Paul Family Foundation has contributed millions of dollars to support and provide opportunities for children in Winston-Salem, in New Orleans, and Los Angeles, and currently in Houston. In fact, last night, many of you may have seen, Chris was part of a telethon from New York with many famous people, including Stephen Colbert and Oprah, which raised $44 million for hurricane relief. His leadership in his community and the evidence of a spirit of pro humanitate have earned him the NBA Community Assist Award 5 times, and last summer he was voted ESPN's Humanitarian of the Year. Chris and his wife Jada have 2 small children and are raising them on the same principles that were instilled in them: the importance of family, the importance of education, the importance of being a well-rounded individual. It's a special privilege to have a number of his family with us today. Charles and Robin, his parents, CJ, his brother, and a number of other family members. Could I ask members of his family who are here please to rise? We are also joined by Dr. Larry and Beth Hopkins, well-known Wake Foresters. Larry was an All-ACC fullback here and has been a long distinguished member of our medical school faculty. It was Dr. Larry Hopkins that delivered Chris Paul the baby. It's wonderful to have them with us today. So we look forward to an engaging conversation from a Winston-Salem native, a son of Wake Forest, and a leader in the world of community engagement and professional athletics. Please help me welcome Chris Paul.
Never that serious. Y'all please sit down.
Chris, this happens to be an International Character Day, and you exemplify tremendous character, a lot of which you attribute to your parents and your family. Would you talk about your upbringing and how that shaped your interests and character?
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for coming out. I'm sure you could have been doing something a lot more interesting than sitting here listening to me talk. But thank you, and thank you, Dr. Hatch, so much for having me back. But my upbringing wasn't some dramatic story or something that's probably different from any of you guys growing up. But I tell people all the time, I was blessed and fortunate to have a 2-parent household. You know, in my profession and a lot of guys that are in the NBA, when you see guys get interviewed after the game or something, they always be like, I love you, Mom. You know what I mean? I thank you, Mom, and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, my mom has been amazing, but I've been blessed to have a father also. You know, and that's something I think sometimes get overlooked, is how important that father figure is. And my dad showed me what it's like to treat a woman, you know, to treat my mom, how to treat her, and the respect and stuff like that. And then another thing was, I was talking to a group earlier, my parents were hard on me and my brother. You know, they never let us settle for the status quo, right? So as a high school student or player, I think the requirements are like a 2.0 in order to like play high school sports. My parents set the bar higher for us. They made us have a 3.0, you know, so that's the way it ran in our household. It was never about what the school expected you to do. It was about what we expect in this household. So, you know, my parents is always, like I said, they was hard on us. And I mean, even now at 32 years old, I've had an opportunity to travel the world, and I lived in Oklahoma for 2 years, and I lived in New Orleans and been in LA for the last 6 years. Anytime I meet someone older than me, it's courtesy. You have to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You know, and you go places and people be like, oh, you don't have to say that to me. I'll be like, well, if you didn't, you was gonna get smacked in the mouth. You know, so it's not that I'm trying to make you feel old or anything like that. It's just the way it was.
In high school, you were elected president of your class, I think all 4 years. When did you first see yourself as a leader?
Well, not my freshman year. My freshman year, I wasn't class president. My grades weren't up to par, and my folks, my folks let me know I better get that together real quick. I thought I was gonna go into high school and just be cool and chill out and all that, and it got real. It got real. But my sophomore year, I said, let me get involved in different programs and different after-school clubs because that's what colleges are gonna wanna see, right? Like my thing when I got to high school and college and everything, it was all about school and education. I wasn't this phenom that knew that I was going into the NBA. My purpose of coming here to Wake Forest was that it was a great academic school that when basketball was over, it would translate into the workforce. So for me as a sophomore, junior, and senior, it just sort of happened. I mean, it's a lot different than anybody in here run for class president in high school. You basically lie to everybody. You know what I mean? You'd be like, you want vending machines you want extra vending machines? You know, you want to see if we can, start school a little bit later. And then to tell you the truth, what really sold it for me, especially my sophomore and junior year, was, Mom, you remember, the day of election, I was at the top of the breezeway with fresh Krispy Kreme donuts. Fresh Krispy Kreme donuts. And my junior year, I was in charge of the prom. So as a junior in high school, that was like my big responsibility. I was in charge of the prom, and that was a task in itself because I was playing AAU basketball, and I'll never forget the day of the prom, I had an AAU game. So we woke up that morning. Mama, I think I went over to, it was at the convention center. Went over to the convention center. Like the theme was like Midnight in Paris. I don't know, something crazy like that. and we set it up, whatnot, got all the stuff set up for the prom. I had to drive to Charlotte for the state championship game, won the state championship, and then came back. Yeah, we won, throw that in there. Just throw that in there. Then came back and was a little bit late. My daddy let me drive the Beamer, appreciate that, Dad. And went and picked up my date and went to the prom. And then senior year, that was probably the craziest thing. So me being the class president as a senior, you know what I was in charge of? I was in charge of reunions. I'm in charge of class reunions. Like now, I'm still in charge of class reunions. Yeah, I graduated in 2003. In 2013, I had to throw the 10-year class reunion. And so I remember getting back on the phone with my vice president was a girl named Sarah Yeager, and the secretary was Clara Dovis. They probably married now, so that's probably not the right name. But I had to organize class reunion. And it just so happens, you know where I did my 10-year class reunion at? It was at the field house. What is it? The football stayed at the field house. Yeah.
Bridger.
Yeah, Bridger Field House. That's where I did my 10-year class reunion. Everybody thought that like Lil Wayne and Jay-Z and all these people was gonna be there. Sorry. It was just me. Just me.
Chris, it was a great to have you as a student at Wake Forest. Could you share some of the people or experiences here that were significant in your time?
Man, it was so many. It was so many. Man, that's why when I went to the NBA, it was one of the toughest things. And it wasn't just my classmates and my teammates and stuff like that. It was a lot of the alumnus and a lot of the fans who I remember seeing game in and game out. My Spanish teacher, Miss Puckett, she was amazing. And I just remember all the different relationships because as you guys know as students here, and I still talk about it to my friends that's in the NBA and stuff like that all the time, like I talk about the schools that they go to that have 40,000 students and 50,000 students, and when they go to class, they're just a number. Like we're a small, intimate school, so you actually get a chance to know your teachers, you actually get a chance to know the people around you. And one of the things that I always respect the most too, And not to throw shade at any other schools or nothing like that, but one thing I knew about here at Wake is that I did my work. Like, I did my own work. You know, like that's, and one of the coolest stories that I never forget about me is that we flew to most games, but when we played against teams that weren't as far, like I don't know what they do now, but we drove to Virginia. We drove to UVA. And I never forget after we played at UVA, we got on that bus, and I was a bit of a procrastinator when it came to papers and stuff like that, but I get it done. I would get it done. It would just sort of be on my own time. And we were riding back after a game we had played at Virginia, and I never forget sitting there with my laptop and seeing most of the guys on the bus with their lights off, knocked out for the ride back, and I was up writing a paper. I was finishing up a paper, proofreading a paper, let's say that. But yeah, it was stuff like that, you know, we would win a big game. We would win a big game, right, on the road or at home, and going to class the next morning was the coolest thing, because there was none of that, you won a big game, don't be at class tomorrow. Like, it was real, and that was one of the things that I appreciated the most. I mean, I had a class with like 7 people. You know, you have those smaller classes and stuff like that, and so one thing that you learn here at the school is that if the teacher tell you to do a reading assignment, what you gotta do? You gotta do it. Because it's not these big group discussions. Like, the teacher is gonna be teaching the class and may ask you about that reading last night. And so just all of that different type stuff. Even one of the other things is one of the sororities here on campus like made me their, I don't know what it's called. I just know it was like Delta Zeta or something like that. The DZs, they used to bring me cookies and stuff like that all the time. I was grateful. I was grateful for it, but it's the experiences. Look, y'all tripping. Be cool. It's the experiences. Like, I remember beating Duke and everybody storming the court. I remember, because I committed to come to Wake as a junior in high school, and so as a senior, I remember being here for that game and seeing everybody go crazy when the team won. And so then when I got here and we did it, I remember that feeling of everybody rushing the court, and I remember going to the quad and seeing the whole process of rolling the quad. Like, even now in the NBA, and I follow the school on Instagram and stuff like that, I still get goosebumps when I see the quad roll, you know, because I've been there. Like, I know what that feeling's like, and I can see the excitement on everybody's face. So it's so many different experiences that go through my mind.
Yeah. Chris, at a very young age, you signed $1 million contracts, won Olympic gold medals, became an all-star player, and in essence, you became a celebrity. What keeps you grounded amidst all this attention and fame?
That's a great question. So what keeps me grounded is my family. My family and my friends and stuff like that. My family is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a little biased, but I think it's second to none. You know, but my family, we stick together. Because I've been in LA for so long, my very first time ever leaving like Winston-Salem area was going to the NBA. That was my first time leaving. So y'all gotta remember, like, oh man, I'm 32 years old and I still don't really live in the real world. No, like, seriously, like when I was in college, right? No judgment, right? No judgment. I'm gonna tell y'all something, but no judgment. Now, I was born and raised here, lived at home. My parents, my mom, amazing. She washed everybody's clothes. I came to college. My mom worked right up the street, and I'm the baby boy. She said, if you want to while you're in school, I'll wash your clothes. I'm not gonna deny that woman that right. I'm not. So every couple weeks, my mama would pull up outside of Babcock. Drop that bag off to mom's. She'd take it home, bring it back the next day. And I never forget one time my parents were traveling to see my brother play, and clothes needed to get washed. So guess who I called? My beautiful grandmother. My beautiful grandmother. And then I think about it, then I go to the NBA, right? And me and my brother lived together. My brother had moved away, lived on his own, all that stuff like that. He knew what it was like to wash clothes. So thank you to my amazing brother. He did it for both of us for years. And then, when me and him stopped living together, I found my beautiful wife. So, yeah. That family and support system, more than just washing clothes, but that support system, nothing like it. Like, as much as I love the NBA, as much as I love to travel and meet the people that I get an opportunity to meet, the thing that I look most forward to is when I get all my family together and we just laugh and just, just get to kick back. For the past few years out in LA, Granny, about 35, 40 of the family members? Since I can't go to them, because, it would suck if I was on a sorry team, but we're on a good team, so we always play on Christmas Day. Since I can't come home and be with my family on Christmas, I bring them all to me. So about 35 or 40 of my family members come out there for like 4 or 5 days, and it's the best time ever because the thing that and I talked about earlier, is that you can't get back is time. And as much as I grew up around my family and being around my uncles and aunts and grandparents, my kids don't necessarily get that. And I have little cousins who are growing up. I follow them on Instagram, I follow them on Snap, but it's nothing like being there. So I think that's one of the things that I try to do the most, is try to be around your family, because once all of this is over and done with, that's who's gonna be there.
Yeah. Chris, you are a very competitive person. In fact, he was telling me before, last week he and CJ played golf with President Obama, and it was a very competitive game. But someone has called you an on-court assassin. But at the same time, you have deep friendships with some of your fiercest competitors, LeBron, D. Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and so forth. How do you put that together to be a stone cold killer and yet have deep friendships?
It's a time and place for everything. And the relationships that I have with those guys, especially Melo, Bron, and D. Wade, part of what joined that friendship is how competitive we all are. And it's funny, when we play against each other, we probably want to beat each other worse than we want to beat anybody else, because we know we're going to spend that time together. But I don't know if that came from being the little brother. My older brother and his friends just always like beating up on me and telling me that I was too small and all this stuff. But with those guys, I think we try to bring out the best in each other, and we're able to decipher, the game from life. Because this is the other thing too, is that one day this ball is gonna stop bouncing and it's gonna be no more basketball. And so some people you wanna have actual friendships with and relationships with that go beyond the game. And that's what it's like with those guys, is that it's bigger than basketball. When we play on the court, we know, you may get a hard foul. It's very likely you're gonna get a hard foul, but at the same time, we have families, your kids may get along and all that stuff like that, because in life, one thing that I've learned over all these years is that you have to have balance. You have to have balance, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, great. Chris, basketball is a team sport. What is your own philosophy of being a leader and helping teams better on and off the court?
Man, that's a great question. You know what? Coach Prosser used to always say, it's a team game played by individuals. That's what he used to always say. So you have to do your part, but it's a team game. And what I've learned about leadership is that it's bigger than just the actual game. Like, this summer, I'll just fill you in on this summer. With me being traded to Houston, I spent a lot of this summer spending a lot of time with James Harden, spending a lot of time with Trevor Ariza and different guys on the team because I'm a firm believer in chemistry. And if you really build those relationships and you invest in each other in real time and caring about their well-being, so us training together, pushing each other, I think that when it comes to game time, that stuff matters. That stuff matters. When a guy fouls, and I'll tell you this now, like if a guy fouls James Harden in a game this year, I'm gonna have a problem with it. I'm serious, I'm gonna have a problem with it, and that's how it should be when that's your teammate. When it's your teammate. And then when you become teammates and it's like that, it's deeper than that. Like I've played on 1,000 teams over the years, and you know, it's guys that, teammates that become family. You know, a teammate of mine, Tyson Chandler, I played with him for maybe 5 years. And we haven't played on the same team in a long time, but the relationships that we had, the things that we went through when we played together, it made it more than teammates. So when you're a leader, you just figure out things. And another thing I say about leadership, what I learned is, especially being the point guard of a team, is over the course of a season, your teammates' kids may have a birthday party. And my mom, we talk about this all the time. Somebody may have an event or something like that. Everybody on the team may not go, but the leader, as the leader of the team, you should go. You should go. You have to do the things sometimes that everybody else doesn't want to do. You know what I mean? Like if everybody else want to do this or something, and they be like, man, what's his name having a little event tonight? I don't want to go. You know, if you're the leader of the team, guess what? You might have to suck it up and sacrifice your own time because being there matters for that player. Even if it's not the other star player on the team, it could be the last guy on the end of the bench. But guess what? At the end of the day, when you need that guy, he's going to say that you were there for him. All right, so that's one thing I learned as a leader.
Great. What have you learned from being head of the NBA Players Association?
Oh, man, that's too much. From being the president of the Players Association, man, I can say that's been a business class on steroids. Like, I'm serious. Like, as tough as it is at times, and Carmen, my brother, them know, they be like, you got a phone call, I'll be like, man, again, I can honestly say I have learned so much. Like just being in those rooms and having those conversations about when you're young and you're a kid and you're thinking about going to play in the NBA, you just think about basketball, right? You just think about putting the ball in a hoop. But I've actually been in on conversations talking about the dress code and like the length of our tights and what color tights you can wear and the length of your socks. And we talk about everything as far as the business of the game. And I think that's what's opened my eyes to the actual business world of it, of who's playing on Christmas Day and where's the location of the games. And one of the biggest things that we changed a few years ago was the duration after All-Star break. How much more time? When is the season going to start? Being involved in all those conversations. Was that conference call yesterday with Adam? And we had a conversation with Michael Jordan and Adam. That sounds crazy, don't it? I had a conference call with MJ and Adam Silver. We were talking about how to make the All-Star game better. So as a kid, you know, you're thinking about just playing basketball, but being thrust into that position, I've had an opportunity to learn about the complete business of the game and how it affects the fans, you know, that make it possible for us to do what we do.
Yeah, great. Chris, last year at the ESPYs, you, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, and LeBron made strong and eloquent statements about racial profiling and called all of us to invest to strengthen our communities on behalf of everyone. What motivates you to work on behalf of justice and equal opportunity?
Yeah, I think what motivated not only me, but us as a group, and that's why I always talk about, when I do talk about our bond and our friendship, you know, I do have a few group chats just like anybody else in here, like where it's just funny memes and funny Instagram videos and stuff like that. And while our group chat, we do laugh and joke a lot about stuff that's going on, at times it's very serious, and we talk about things that are going on around the world and about life and stuff like that, and we talk about how blessed and fortunate we are. And Mello was the one who actually started the dialogue there, and we just started talking. We was like, how can we do something meaningful and impact everyone and sort of challenge everyone to take a look at themselves or look at their surrounding areas and try to stop the senseless violence. And it's always a work in progress or whatnot, and all of us looked at it from different angles, and it's been a mess. I'm sure people in here know it's been a mess to see all the violence and all the different profiling that's going on day in and day out. And for me, when we first talked about it, when I started seeing the way that people react to law enforcement, I was just like everybody else, like, that's crazy, that's bullcrap, it shouldn't be like that. And then I also looked at it from a side where my uncle, my dad's brother, is a police officer, right? And so I know my uncle, I know his integrity, and I know that, so I can't say that all officers are a certain way. But it was a discussion, and I think we all have to continue to pay attention and not sweep different things under the rug and just say, oh, that's an isolated event, because if it's a problem now, it's going to continue to be a problem unless we address it.
Yeah. You said earlier when you were talking to student athletes about how you had changed some of your philanthropy to address needs of computing and so forth in underprivileged areas. Could you say something about that?
Yeah, so I was talking earlier about our foundation. It's called the Chris Paul Family Foundation, and we changed the name to that because not only, it used to be the Chris Paul Foundation, but as I said, my family, we roll deep. And so I'm not the only person that tries to do different things in the community. My parents, my brother, my wife, she does a dress giveaway. She actually does one here in Winston, and she used to do one out in LA, which I'm sure will move to Houston. But what I did was, my son was about to start kindergarten, so me and my wife went to his school to take a tour of the school, and as we was walking around the school, we were in the lower campus, and I was sort of dumbfounded. I walked in, and they was like, this is our computer lab, and I was like, this is the computer lab for like the whole school, K through 12? She was like, no, just K through 5. And I was like, all these iPads and smart boards and all this stuff is for K through 5. And I got mad. Like, I sort of walked around the rest of the way with an attitude. And my wife looked at me, and I was like, this is crazy. And as soon as I walked out of there, I think I called you, Carm, or I called my mom or somebody, and I called him, and I was like, while I feel so blessed and fortunate that my kids get access to all of this technology, the kids that live in the inner cities and on the other side of town, they don't have this type of access. They're not getting the opportunity to be on these iPads and stuff like that. And the way the world is now with all this technology and the learning and all this stuff like that, these kids are going to be left behind. So that day, we sort of changed the service of our foundation, and we started going into these boys and girls clubs and all these different areas and putting learning centers and putting computers in front of these kids. And one of the Boys and Girls Club in Watts, was it Watts that we went into? Watts Willowbrook. We walked in and we looked at it, and I mean, these kids, and you think about it, kids are like very uncensored and they're unbothered. They don't pay attention to paint on walls. They don't pay attention to what the Wi-Fi password is and stuff like that. These kids seemed unbothered, but this building was of no condition for these kids. And the building had no Wi-Fi. These kids didn't know anything about computers, iPads, and all that different type stuff. So we made it our mission to start refurbishing these places all around the country. And we've done it one by one. About how many have we done, Carm? Yeah, we've done about 15 right now around the country. We opened up a new one over in East Winston-Salem today, and we're gonna keep it going because these kids shouldn't be left behind just because they grow up on a different side of town.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing too, whenever we do these different events, the thing that I try to do as much as possible, I try to take my kids with me. So I don't know who in here has kids and stuff like that, but whenever you're doing stuff, and I said it earlier, it's not always about the check that you can write. And that's very important, obviously, to do different things. The monetary things do matter, but if you can't give a big check, your time is the most valuable thing, which is why when myself and Kevin, we did the donations to Hurricane Harvey, we wanted to go give our time, and not just a check. The people a lot of times, and me and Kevin Hart, who was hilarious, when we went down there, we wanted the people to know that we're not just sending a check. We wanted to come here and actually be with you guys. And the people there who are going through unbelievable devastation, and even the people that's dealing with Irma, it may just be 5 minutes or 10 minutes of their day where they can see you and talk to you and ask you some questions about the season. And like I told Kevin, when he made them smile and laugh for 5 minutes, that may just be just enough time to get their mind off of what they're having to deal with. And us going to New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina and knowing some of those families that moved from New Orleans that lost everything, right? Moved to Houston to start over, and then another hurricane to wipe all that out and make you have to start over again. If that doesn't make you appreciate life and the things that you have, I don't know what will. But for those people to just get a pat on the back or just a smile on their face for a little while going through that devastation, I think that was huge.
Chris, I have one last question, and then we'll open it to the audience, and that is, have you thought about what you might do? You will have a long and distinguished NBA career ahead, but what might you do after that?
Did y'all ask him to ask me this?
Have you ever thought about politics?
That will not happen. No, sir. Like there's no chance. Absolutely no chance of that. But it's funny, like my business team, the people that work with me, they constantly always asking, like, do we know? And I'm sort of figuring it out. Obviously, I do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. I know I can tell you what I won't be doing. I won't be coaching in the NBA. I won't, and I'll tell you why. And nothing against any of the coaches in the NBA. I do what you have to do. But for me, no, seriously. For me, if I don't financially have to coach in the NBA when I'm done playing, then I won't, because the hardest thing for me to do right now, even though, trust me, nobody loves to play basketball more than me. Nobody. Like if somebody wanted some action right now, we could go right to the court. But the hardest part for me with playing in the NBA always goes back to what I talked about earlier, and was my family. So when me and my brother was growing up, we never, ever had to look at the door or something like that and wonder where our parents were, right? Never had to wonder if our parents were gonna be at the little chorus concert, or if they was gonna be at the football game, or if they was gonna be at the basketball game. Well, I mean, usually the basketball game, my daddy was a coach, and my mom was probably the team mom. But that's one of the things that I still have a hard time dealing with, is not being able to be at all my kids' events, right? So when I'm done playing, hopefully I'm involved in some type of business where I can travel when I want to travel, right? So that's literally the hardest thing for me now, is that, yeah, I'm playing in the NBA and all that stuff like that, but the parents that are in here that have kids and stuff like that, my kids have things that are going on. They got field trips, they have games, they have soccer games, they have all these things going on. And I'm so lucky to have my older brother who's always there for me, like when I can't be there. And my family, they're always in town and they go to that stuff. But that's the hardest thing for me to deal with, is not being able to be there for my kids. Because one thing I'll tell any of y'all in here, your kids, I said this earlier, but your kids know the truth, right? So little Chris knows his dad plays in the NBA. My daughter, she probably doesn't know. She's clueless. my daughter could care less. I tell people when my parents laughing because they know it's the truth. When I came in the house to tell my kids that we were gonna go to Houston, that I was getting traded going to Houston, my son, when I told him, it broke me down because he cried, like really, really bad, and like sort of said, did he have to go? That tore me up. He said, did he have to go? And I basically broke it down to him, and I told him, I said, Chris, I would like for you to go because dad can't be dad and function without you. Like I told him, like, I need you, your sister, your mom, I need y'all to come with me because if I'm gonna perform at the highest level, I need you to be there with me. My daughter, when I told my daughter I was going to Houston, she looked at me and said, is mommy going? My daughter, she didn't care nothing about basketball. She wanted to know if her mama coming with us, and she is gonna be A-okay.
So we have quite a few questions.
Cool, I ain't know where to be.
Twitter is popping.
Exactly.
So this is very appropriate for us at Wake Forest, also known as Work Forest. How do you manage high levels of stress and multiple tasks at the same time?
Man, that's a great question. The thing that I'm still trying to manage, still to this day, is time management. It's time management, and I'm in a lot of stressful situations, especially as much as I'm in the air because I don't like to fly. I'm a terrible flyer. That's a stressful situation in itself. But man, a lot of times, like, especially if you're talking about basketball and stuff like that, KG, Kevin Garnett, was sort of a consultant to our team this year. And I've always been good in pressure situations because I feel like I practice, right? Like I prepare, you know, and if you're prepared for something, then, I mean, that's what I mean when I talk about basketball. Like I feel like I live in the gym, like I know how to get to this point or that point. So then, and I've been doing it since I was 5 years old. I've always been sort of the guy that gets the last shot. So if it's the end of the game situation, it's like, give me the ball, please. Like I'm used to this and I'm prepared. So when it comes to whether it's a meeting, whether it's a test or whatnot like that, my biggest thing is to prepare. And the thing that Kevin Garnett taught me this past year in those situations is breathing. Right, like taking deep breaths and stuff like that. Because conditioning, like when you're getting ready for the season, all the running and all that stuff like that, instead of tensing up, one of the biggest things that I learned to do is like to breathe and close my eyes and breathe. I've had a lot of different people who have told me that meditation is great for the body or great for like the soul. And I always look at them like, I ain't got that kind of time. Like seriously, like I really wish I could, but I just feel like the time that I would be trying to, my kids going, Daddy, you know? And so what I have found though is that before every practice, I get in the steam room. Like when you get to 32 in the NBA, you need everything you need to get you loose, right? So I get in the steam room before every practice, and I found that to be sort of like my quiet place, because you get in there, you can't have no phones, you can't have anything, and that is the best thing in the world. Like the hardest thing to do for everybody, I'm sure now, is to go somewhere without your phone, right? That's the hardest thing to do, but when I go in the steam room, that's the one place that Carmen can't get a hold of me.
What's the greatest lesson you learned from Skip Prosser?
Oh, man. The greatest lesson I learned from Coach Prosser. I don't know if it's one, but one of the biggest things I learned is, like, people remember your actions, right? Like Coach Prosser, like I said, I played for Coach Prosser for 2 years. I played for a lot of coaches a lot longer than that. And you talk about like leaving a lasting imprint. Myself, along with Teron Downey, Jamal Levy, Vitas Danilus, all the different guys that he coached, Josh Howard and all that. When I see those guys, or some of us even talk on Instagram and stuff like that in the chat, all of the different sayings I think allows Coach Prosser to live on. You know, that if you can't be on time, be early. As I was saying earlier, anytime somebody asks you how you doing, if you say, I'm good, I'm gonna go nuts. Because you have to say, I'm well. You know, have to say I'm well. You have to say I'm well, or Coach Prosser would have went crazy. So now if somebody says to me, then I get upset. I'd be like, say it the right way. It's I'm well. Don't be a 3 to 6 guy, be a 6 to 3 guy. All these different sayings. So what I learned from Coach Prosser is that people remember your actions, you know, and if you really sort of, you know, practice what you preach, then you'll live forever.
So currently in the world of sport, Colin Kaepernick, Michael Bennett, and several NBA players have pledged not to go to the White House. How important do you think it is for players to be politically engaged?
Oh, man. I think you just need to know what's going on in the world around you. That's the thing. I'm not going. I mean, I need to win a championship first and foremost. But I think you have to know what's going on. Like, whatever your political background may be or whatever, I think you need to know what's going on around you. You know, so it's funny, and it shows how you grow up and you age and you pay attention to different things. It was once upon a time where I was watching SportsCenter, ESPN all day, every day, or I was watching BET all day, every day, or MTV. Used to be watching all them Real World Road Rules challenges and all that stuff like that. Now, me and my wife, we go to bed to CNN, wake up to CNN, because we want to know what's going on in the world. And so how can you have an opinion on different things if you don't know? You know, if you don't know.
Absolutely. Now, you just recently gave $75,000 to hurricane relief efforts for Harvey, and also volunteered your time. You have your family foundation. How are you a good steward of your influence and your resources when you see so much need in the world?
Man, I'll say it, and I say this all the time. I'm so blessed and fortunate not to be a one-man crew. Like, I got an unbelievable support system and team around me that does a lot of the heavy lifting. And whenever we going into a city and we trying to figure out how to give back or what areas to help out, man, let me tell you, they get it done. They get it done, and so I'm so lucky to have them. So when we go in, I usually have the easy part.
Pitt or Benson? The Pitt or Benson?
Well, Benson had that Chick-fil-A in it. Benson had that Chick-fil-A in it. Yeah.
Let's see.
Dang. But the Pit was where more the action was. But yeah, Benson got the Chick-fil-A. Is it still in there?
So as a native of Winston-Salem, what responsibility do you believe Wake Forest has to this community?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think Wake Forest has a big responsibility to this community. For me, growing up, I didn't know too much about Wake. You know, I used to drive by it and stuff like that, but I would be at my grandparents' house or at the service station, and after my Pop Warner football games, we would always go over to Winston-Salem State. We'd be over there at Winston-Salem State University. But obviously, after coming here and as I travel more, y'all ought to see how excited I get when people say they heard of Winston-Salem, or how excited I get when I see someone and they say they went to Wake Forest. You know, and what it means is that, like I said earlier, it's not easy to get into Wake Forest. Y'all know that, right? Like, I actually have one of my NBA teammates that's on my team now who was planning on coming to Wake with me, and he was telling the story the other night. We was at dinner with my wife and his wife and another one of my teammates and his wife, and he was talking about it. He was telling Trevor, he was like, you know, we were supposed to go to school together, but I couldn't get in over there. I couldn't get in over there. So when I'm traveling or I'm at a road game or something like that, that's one thing that I spot everywhere, is if somebody got on a Wake t-shirt or a Wake jersey, and it's just special. Like, it really is. Like, I have teammates that went to other schools, like those bigger schools or whatnot, but when they spot somebody, they might give them a wave. But me, when I see Wake Forest, I know it's like a select few group of people who could have actually went to that school, and it's really special. So I think it plays a huge role here in this city, and yeah.
There are so many questions coming through, y'all. Bear with me.
Do they have any questions in here?
Yeah, they're texting.
Oh, y'all are texting to him?
They're tweeting in questions.
Oh, wow, technology is crazy.
So this is a good one. You've had a chance to play in the Olympics with folks from various countries and all around the world. We just recently had some incidents in Charlottesville that sort of tested our ability to come together as a community. What has engaging with people that are different for you, how has that shaped your worldview?
Say that one more time.
How has playing with people from different backgrounds shaped your worldview?
Yeah, oh man, that's a great question, because I've absolutely had an opportunity to travel the world, probably not as much as I would have liked to, because I'm usually busy during the summers. I'm changing that next summer, going somewhere. But man, it just lets you know that anything can happen at any given time. It's funny, me and my wife was actually gonna go on a trip this summer. Well, last summer we was going away for our anniversary. We was going to Italy, and boom, something happened, I feel like in Italy or whatnot, but that might have been an earthquake. But then we were about to go where? To Spain, all right, and then an incident happened. And so it sort of lets you know that anything can happen at any given time. And a lot of times when things happen, people tend to get scared and said, I'm not going here, I'm not going there. I'm usually one of them people that's like, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But one of the things that I sort of learned from my wife is that you can't live your life in fear. Can't live your life in fear. You got to live and enjoy different things, but also understand that the world that we live in today, you just never know what's going to happen.
This is a good one.
Oh, man.
Now, you were Rookie of the Year. Who was your mentor that rookie season?
Man, that's a good question. So I won Rookie of the Year in '06. And it's crazy how life happens and things evolve. First and foremost, when you get into the NBA as a rookie, you don't have any money, okay? Just letting y'all know, like, you don't have any money. Like, you just don't. for NBA standards, you just don't. Like, I think one of the biggest things that I learned too about being in the NBA and all this stuff like that was when I was growing up, if you would have told me about $1 million, guess what I would have said? Man, if I get $1 million, everybody gonna be good, right? Seriously, that's the way you think. You're like, if I get $1 million, oh man, all the fellas in the neighborhood, we good. Ain't nobody ever gonna have to work again. But that's before you understand this thing called taxes. That's before you try to find a house to live in and a car to drive and all that different type stuff. So I didn't understand all of that stuff, and that's what I was explaining earlier, that I was 19, here go a couple $1 million, right? Go do something with it. Like they don't give you, you have a rookie transition program, but don't nobody tell you all the different things that you're gonna face, you know, and it grew me up real quick, but the person that I used to lean on my rookie year was a guy named P.J. Brown, and what happens to other rookies and stuff like that, I remember other friends of mine that was rookies, they were getting suits bought for them by the vets, and I remember KG bought a rookie friend of mine a watch and all this stuff like that. And I think back to it, and I used to be mad. I used to be like, man, ain't nobody giving me nothing. Nobody giving me nothing. But what P.J. Brown did was he gave me a lot of knowledge. He gave me a lot of knowledge, and not just like objects and things like that. But the cool part for me now is being a veteran in the NBA and being blessed to have signed a couple contracts. I know what it's like to be a rookie, right? So I know what it's like to, my rookie year, one of the responsibilities I had to pick up donuts every day. Every single day for practice. It was me and a guy named Brandon Bass. That was our rookie duties. We had to alternate. It was a Krispy Kreme it was what, about 20 minutes from our house. I had to drive out to that Krispy Kreme and have donuts every day at practice. And I was having to pay for that out of my pocket. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I ain't got no money to be paying for these donuts every day. But P.J. Brown was the guy that gave me that knowledge. And what I try to do now for rookies that come in our league or whatnot, well, that's on my team, because you're going to have rookie duties. That's going to happen. And just do what they say. Just do what they say. But one of the things I try to do for rookies and stuff now is maybe bring them over to the house and have Courtney, who does all our clothes and stuff like that, maybe buy them some suits. Because that goes a long way, like when you're a rookie and you're having to dress up for every game. And that's what I say, like you don't have all this money that everybody thinks that you have. So, I mean, we have fun with it too. Like I may get on the bus with our 2 rookies last year. We may get on the bus and get our per diem, and I ask them a question. I'll be like, what's the most points I ever scored in college? You know what I mean? And whoever get the answer right, they can have my per diem. Yeah, it's just fun stuff like that, because that goes a long way when you're a young guy coming into the NBA. I'll be like, man, I need that 200. I need that.
So this is the last question, and one that I think there's been a lot of folks asking about it, but what are your thoughts about players currently not standing for the national anthem?
Man, you know, that's tough, and I'm a firm believer in you do what's best for you, I'm gonna do what's best for me, and not best for me or whatnot, but if that's what you would like to do, then that's on you. But for me, I've had an opportunity to play and represent, you know, our country and playing for the Olympics and different things like that. And it's not about me. I think whatever you do is on you. But for me, I've had an opportunity to see a lot of these families that go out and protect our freedoms on a day in and day out basis. So if that's what you choose to do, I'm not gonna be like, you can't do what you like to do, but I'm gonna do what I would like to do. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Chris, what an honor and privilege to have you back home at Wake Forest. You have been an amazing representative of your family and of this university, and we wish you all the best as you help tackle the challenges of Houston and as you win an NBA championship. Join me in thanking Chris Paul.
thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah.